Hello, I'm Peter Vaughan, and today I'm at the Chatsworth Caravan and Motorhome Club site with this, the latest from Swift. In fact, their first ever coach-built range on the Ford Transit. We've seen plenty of Fiat-based Swifts in the past, and even a few VWs over the years. And of course now they do the little Monza pop-top on the little Transit Custom. But this is the big Transit, and this is quite a substantial motorhome. But still at 3.5 tonnes, so you can drive it on a car licence. There are 4 models in the range. This is the 584, which is the single bed version. There's also a French bed and an island bed model, if you prefer. But this one is 7.85 metres long, 2.87 metres high, and 2.37 metres wide. So it's quite a bit longer than a typical sort of 7.5 metre motorhome in this class, and also just a tad wider. Typically 2.3 to 2.35 is the norm for a coach-built motorhome. As I say, this one's 2.37. Now the Voyager comes as standard with this metallic grey cab and the 16-inch alloy wheels. Under the bonnet, it's a 155 bhp engine. In fact, the only options on this vehicle, well, the only factory-fitted option you can have is the automatic gearbox. That's £1,795. This one's also got a bike rack, which is a dealer-fit accessory. But excluding those 2 items, this vehicle is £67,495, which today seems extremely competitive. And that price also includes the big overcab sunroof, of course, and being a Ford, you get these front fog lights, which are cornering lights as well. So let's take a look down the offside first. And the first thing I want to point out is these little panels added to the cab doors, which sort of smooth the join of the body with the Ford Transit cab. Now, a couple of times I thought I was going to catch myself on those getting in and out, but actually I haven't, so they're okay. Nice premium style badging, which perhaps I wouldn't have expected at this price point. Then the gas locker, well, that takes one 6-kilogram cylinder and one 13. Windows, of course, are the caravan style ones that sit proud of the body, but again, what would you expect at this price point? Mains hook up there, of course, and then the fresh water filler. Now, both fresh and waste water tanks are underslung. Fresh is 110 litres, pretty good size, and the waste is 85 litres. But I had a look underneath, and the waste tank is very, very low. I wouldn't want to go over too many rough tracks or bumpy farm sites with that. And also, the grey waste drain is one of those fiddly little taps. I think we should move on from those in 2023. Both the water tanks have tank heaters, but I'm rather sceptical about those, having had underslung tanks with tank heaters freeze just before Christmas when it was -6. But obviously it saves space on the inside, having the tanks underfloor. Now, the other thing you'll notice, the freshwater tank is right at the back here, so it does rather block in the spare wheel. Now, you have got a spare wheel, but I wouldn't want to have to try and get that one out. And then up on the roof, you've got a 100-watt solar panel. Being a Swift, of course, it's smart construction, so glass fibre sides, roof, underfloor, and all backed up by a 10-year body shell integrity warranty. This rear panel is all nicely moulded and typical Swift, but it is in one piece, so make sure you watch that reversing camera and don't bump it. And then, of course, there's the garage, which has full-size loading doors on both sides. Headroom is 1.1 metres and width 1.12 metres. You've got lights at either end of the garage, fixed tie-down points, so those can't move, but at least you can lash down your bikes or whatever And on this side, you've got 12-volt USB and main sockets too. However, as you can see, the garage is quite high up. A lot of motorhomes like this have a stepped floor at the back, so the garage loading height is much lower. Do consider that if you're planning on carrying anything heavy like e-bikes in the garage. And also consider your payload. This is a 3.5 ton motorhome. In standard manual form, it has a payload of 424 kilos, but go for the automatic and that reduces to 371 kilos. And then finally on the near side, well, there's not a lot more to show you. There is an awning light. No awning, you'll have to get your dealer to fit one of those. Cassette servicing hatch, of course, and the habitation entrance, which is quite a nice wide door. It's got a bin and a branded brolly, and also a fly screen as well, of course. But whilst the Swift website says that that's linked to the central locking, it doesn't seem to be on this one, or if it is, it's not working. Stepping into the van is nice and easy. There's no need for an electric step. It's just got a nice low entrance. And then once you're in, you can see that it's very much a van of two halves. You've got this complete division and door through to the bedroom and washroom beyond, which we'll show you later on. But up front, of course, the lounge and kitchen. As you'd probably expect with a brand new 2023 season motorhome, they've gone for parallel settees because that's what's very much en vogue at the moment. And they are nice settees, aren't they? They look attractive. I love this tweed style fabric, and it's great to get away from beiges and browns for this grey, slightly even bluey or greeny effect. Maybe that's just the light. And this sort of slightly green for the drapes, neck curtains too, if you want them. This passenger seat easily swivels right round so that you can put your feet up and relax. There's no TV bracket, but there are aerial and power sockets up on the wall there, up on the side of the fridge, but very high up. I wouldn't really see that as the ideal place for a telly, but that's where Swift seems to have decided it needs to go. The driver's seat will go right round so you can get your feet up, but it is much more of a faff because of the steering wheel, and it's probably better just to swivel it sort of 2/3, 3/4 as it is here. The table is one of these one handle affairs, so just the one handle and you can twist it and turn it, and it's in its folded position, it's not too bulky. And then when you want to dine, well, you wouldn't need more than that. However, there is one issue I found, and that's the gap here between the table and the leg. If you're sitting here and you decide you want to get through, it's a tight squeeze here between the leg and the settee, and I'm sure some people wouldn't manage it at all. Other things to tell you, well, there's loads of USB points up here and on the other side too, down here as well, and on the opposing sofa. Then you've got main sockets up here, which always seems a bit odd to me. I've seen that in other Swifts and I'm not sure of the thinking behind it, but I do like these swivelling, twisting reading lights over the front seats. That's a really great feature and the sort of thing that they could easily have left out to keep the price down. Another thing I like is the fact that the overcab sunroof is an opening one. And then you have got these pockets at the side, which I actually found you could stuff some copies of MMM in there so you've got something to read when you get to the site. Now, there's also huge headroom here. I'll measure that in a second, but it does help to be tall in this van because some of the lockers are quite high. I do like this gloss finish with this sort of metal strip through the middle too. And everything is positively locking, which is always good to see, so that things won't fly out when you go round a roundabout. There's a bit of rake on the backrest in the lounge too, to increase comfort. And you've got the posh pleated blinds as well. Another thing you might not expect at this price point. Good ambient lighting over the top lockers. Oh yes, and the headroom in the lounge is up to 2.22 metres at the highest point. Now you'd think that with that big curved roof, it might have been designed to have a drop-down bed at the front, but that isn't available on this model. Perhaps because of payload issues, just adding another item like that might just tip it over, so that you couldn't have this as a 3.5 ton van. Over by the doorway, you've got coat hooks. Those are the TV points I said earlier. Truma heating is gas and electric, and it's the Combi 6, the more powerful Combi. And the control panel is nice and simple and easy to use. And then in the kitchen, well, even here, headroom is 2.1 metres. But once again, some of these lockers, you need to be tall if you're going to find your breakfast up there. So the kitchen, well, you've got a Thetford triplex plus cooker, so 3 gas rings, a mains hot plate, and then below a combined oven and grill. Top lockers include a cup rack in there and a plate rack over on the other side. And in the middle, if you want a microwave, it slots in here, and that's a dealer fit item rather than a factory fit one. What you also get as standard is this plastic washing up bowl in the sink, and then in here, below the sink, are stored chopping board cover. Now that's pretty essential because there's not much workspace in this kitchen. I'm rather disappointed they haven't fitted a flap on the end of the kitchen here, because you've got 2 main sockets here, and that would be ideal for your toaster, your kettle, your coffee machine, whatever, but you really need a bit more worktop in this area. And the other thing that they provide is a draining board. But as you can see, that's really going to overlap the cooker, so you need to have finished cooking when you do the washing up, which, to be fair, you probably will have done. Also in this area under here, I mean, there's quite a lot of cupboard space, but there's also a cutlery drawer. Now, typical Swift, the cutlery drawer's in a cupboard, which is never going to be as convenient because you've got to open the cupboard first. But the thing that really bugs me is that it's such a small cutlery drawer. My bread knife, for example, won't fit in there, neither would my corkscrew. But there are some drawers. You've got a drawer under the oven. That's quite a nice size for pots and pans and so on. And another drawer over here under the fridge. Again, a good size. And then also a good size is the fridge. It's one of these tall, slim models, 139 litre total capacity, automatic energy selection. And although it really doesn't serve much purpose in this layout, it's one of those that you can open from that side or from that side. Maybe you open it from this side so that your guests can't see that you're serving them the cheap plonk that you've got in here rather than your finest Bollinger. So you might think, time to move through the door and show us the other half, but not quite yet, because behind me here is a switch that lowers the table. And then, like others of its ilk, you can convert these settees into travel seats. Now, I'm pleased to see that all the cushions, settee cushions, backrests and bases all are securely fastened with these straps. And then underneath the sofa, you have one of these agouti backrests that swings up. You've got this little infill cushion that helps make the travel seat nice to see, really secure steel frame for the seat, and on this side you've got a leisure battery under there as well. That's an 80 amp hour leisure battery. To complete the travel seat, use 2 of the 4 settee cushions, but one of them separates, so you just remove the thin part of the backrest, and then and there we are, and then just a little door that swings round, and there you have your travel seat. And you can do similar on the other side as well. So it's a proper 4-person motorhome, although I would suggest that if you're travelling all the time with 4 people, you're probably better off with a layout that has more instant rear travel seats. So that's your 4 travel seats, all with 3-point belts, of course, and Isofix on these rear seats. Now, of course, you do end up with quite a lot of cushions left over from converting settees into travel seats, but there's plenty of room for those to go in the end bedroom. Of course, the other thing that the lounge does is become a bed that's 1.94 metres long by 1.34 metres wide, although it does narrow at the foot to 1.05 metres. Now, in old-fashioned money, that's 6'4.5" by 4'4.5", narrowing to 3'5". It's a reasonably flat bed and not too difficult to make. You just lower the table, a little flap that comes out at this end, and then rearrange all the cushions. But I'm not going to pretend it's ever going to be anything like as good as a drop-down bed or any other form of sort of permanent mattress, because obviously you've got a lot of joins. But if it's only for occasional use, then it probably do the job. And behind me, you'll have spotted that you don't get cab blinds, but silver screens that just sucker onto the glass. Now, if it was my van, the first thing I'd be doing is getting a dealer to fit some Remis cab blinds. So what about the other half of this Swift Voyager? Well, through this door, arguably, this is the best bit of the motorhome, and where the extra length of this Voyager 584 really shows. Now, first of all, you step up into the washroom, where you've got the basin and cassette toilet on the near side and the shower opposite. And then beyond that, you've got your twin-bedded bedroom, which can be completely shut off with these sliding doors. So you've got a completely private washroom area in the middle that can be used, of course, by both ends of the motorhome if you've got people sleeping in the front as well. Now, one thing I did find when this motorhome was parked on my drive on a slight slope, because these doors don't attach or anything, this one kept doing that. It's okay here because I'm more level, but they could really do with a magnet or something to hold them together. So the toilet side, well, you've got the usual Thetford cassette toilet, swivel bowl model, and for once it's at a comfortable height. And then behind that, you've got a basin, okay, not a particularly deep or big basin, but one that you can get your head over for a good splash in the morning to wake yourself up. Behind that, a large mirror and a cupboard, although nothing to stop stuff falling out. You'll need to add some fiddle rails or something in there. But what I do like is you've got a really good worktop area alongside the basin, so all your toiletries can be out when you're using them. And then plenty more storage underneath the basin, towel ring, toilet roll holder. The only thing that's missing is a toothbrush mug. And then on the other side of the van, you've got a good sized shower behind this bifold door. You have got some intrusion from the wheel arch, but it doesn't really get in the way in actual practical use. And there is just one drain in that corner, so that will depend how level you're parked, or if you're parked so that water is draining towards that corner. You've got Eco Camel water saving shower head and somewhere to put your conditioner, shampoo, whatever, but only really room for one bottle at a time. Second roof vent above here, there's another one over the centre aisle in this washroom area. And finally, these body rag towels are brilliant. And so to bed, and more steps. Well, the first one is just one small step. The second one may not be a giant leap for motorhome in kind, but it's certainly quite a step up. And then, well, you've got two identically sized single beds, 1.95 metres long by 78 centimetres wide. They're a really good size, and these thick Duvet mattresses are super comfortable. You haven't got a great big roof light here, but you have got a small vent. That's plenty because you've got opening windows on either side. You have no cupboards around the top, so it feels much more like a bedroom. And you can comfortably sit up to read. You've got somewhere to charge your phone, a couple of USB ports, main socket as well. You could even, I suppose, mount a TV at the foot of the bed. Yes, there's 12 volt, 230 volt and aerial sockets again at the foot of the bed. You've got this central area, but no way of turning this into a double. If you want a double bed, go for the island bed model in the range, which is usually the better bet rather than trying to adapt singles into a double. Anyway, underneath the bed where you've got storage in the steps, you've got these drawers on either side as well. And then under the offside bed, you've got some storage above the boiler, so any clothes kept there will be toasty and warm. And under the near side bed, you've got a wardrobe.
You found me.
Which is also the best place for hide and seek. So one final point to make before we move on from the bedroom to the driving, and that's a small area where Swift has clearly saved some pennies, and there aren't too many obvious ones of those. But look under the mattresses and you've just got solid board, no slats or anything to vent the mattresses. So do watch out if you don't use your van for a while or put it into storage over winter. So driving this Swift Voyager. Just been over a cattle grid, hence the noise. And yeah, there is some conversion noise, as probably you'd expect with a mainstream coach-built motorhome, but it's not bad. Once you've silenced the big cooker, and I am, as regular viewers will know, a bit of a fan of this Ford Transit. I like the driving position. You sit lower than in a Fiat or a Peugeot. There's plenty of adjustment on the steering column. You've got twin armrests here as well. So it's a nice, more car-like driving position. Even the steering wheel feels that bit smaller and a bit more car-like, and it's leather-bound as well. Performance, well, this is the 155 bhp engine here, still 2 litre diesel, and it goes well enough. Yeah, I don't think it's quite as quick, well, obviously not quite as quick as the 170 bhp version that you sometimes see with these Fords. But the only time you're really aware of it is sometimes on an incline it drops down from 6th gear into 5th, when you perhaps wouldn't have expected it to. Other than that, performance is more than adequate. Now, 6-speed gearbox, 6-speed manual gearbox is standard. If you want the automatic, which is pretty much the only option, it's a £1,795 extra charge for the automatic, which compared with the £3,000 that you pay typically on a Fiat, seems very good value. I can't see many people not wanting to go for the automatic. Ride quality is good. There's a little bit more lean and that than perhaps with the Fiats, because they are very, very firm on the suspension. But yeah, ride quality is good. It's a comfortable drive. That's the thing about the Ford. Kit, well, you get ESC, you get all the modern safety aids. There's a load adaptive control, there's a anti-rollover control. You get this 9-inch display in the dashboard. Now that does the reversing camera. It doesn't do sat-nav. If you want sat-nav, you'll have to plug your phone in. It's got Apple CarPlay and Android Link, which I haven't come across before. Android Auto I've used quite a bit. Android Link, I don't know, and my phone didn't seem to like it, but hey ho. Twin airbags, of course, air conditioning, everything you'd expect really on a modern mainstream motorhome. But the key thing is whether you prefer the Ford to the Fiat, and personally, I certainly do. Now, before I sum up, a lot of people ask me about fuel consumption with vehicles like this. And driving here, remembering that this one has just a few hundred miles on the clock and it will improve. Mix of motorways, A roads, country roads, I got around 30 miles to the gallon, which I think is pretty good for a vehicle of this size. Now, think about the size. It is that bit longer and just a smidge wider than most of its rivals. Now, most of the time, when you're living on site, that extra length is an advantage. But when it comes to turning it round, if you take a wrong turn, maybe parking it on your drive parking in a supermarket car park, that extra length could be a downside too. So think carefully about whether you want a motorhome this big. Think too about whether it's for 2 or 4 people, because this layout particularly works better, much better for 2 than for 4. Occasional 4, yes, but not regular 4. Well, that said, the rear bedroom and the bathroom area are excellent, and this new Swift really does seem to offer great value for money. I hope you've enjoyed this latest video, and if you want to know more about motorhomes, motorhoming, whether you're an old hand or a newbie, MMM Magazine has everything you need to know, as does our website, outandaboutlive.co.uk. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and plenty more videos coming along soon.